Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SHEMAKERS Live. I am Shavonna Williams, your hostess for the evening and the president and founder of Hills and Helmets, where we use sports to empower women. I am really excited about tonight's episode. It is with Miss Alexandria Price. She and I have been friends for a couple of years now. We met through a networking event for African American women in sports. So, for those of you who are new to SHEMAKERS, this is the place where we have conversations to help women win and build their playbooks in business and life. I have worked in sports for almost 2 decades, and throughout my career, I have had an opportunity to meet and work with a lot of amazing women. I bring them together to have discussions about issues that impact women, from negotiating, managing people, building a business, and balancing family and career. Throughout my career, because I have worked with 5 major sports leagues and across business and politics, of course, I've been in several boardrooms where I was the only woman. Well, I'm working to change that. I want to get more women, not only in the boardroom, but at the head of the table with equal pay. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's conversation. Please drop in a comment and let us know where you're watching from and ask any questions. I hope you enjoyed listening to Mary J. Blige as we were getting ready for tonight's show. I'm so excited to see her perform in Super Bowl, and that song is just like my forever mood. I love, especially when she says, "I like what I see when I'm walking past the mirror." Oh, did I just mess up my jam? But anyway, I love that song. Always puts me in a good mood. Hope you all are feeling it as well. As she says, I'm having a good time. I'm not complaining. I'm a still smile even when it's raining. Now that is something to hold on to. Now let's get ready for tonight's show and meet Miss Alexandria Price. So Alexandria Price is currently the director, special event operations at the Houston Astros. And this is actually her second stop with the organization. A couple of years ago, she was there as manager on the special events team. And now she has returned to Houston to lead the special event operations team. She is a skilled executive in hospitality, event management, and community relations. And she has a lot of experience with large-scale events in college athletics, professional sports, and music and entertainment festivals, including Essence Festival. Ms. Price earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Kinesiology, Sports Administration from Louisiana State University and a Master of Business Administration from Louisiana State University, Shreveport. This stylish leader says having a great personality is a superpower. You must use it and let it shine through. So, SHEMAKERS watching this evening, please welcome Miss Alexandria Price to our studio. Hello there.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I am well, thank you. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much for having me. I chuckled a little bit because it's like what I see when you're looking at me when I'm walking past the mirror.
Exactly. And do you know it's so messed up that I did not say that. I think it's because I was thinking about it too much and playing it all day, because that is like my favorite line, like every time I'm passing a mirror or I'm walking past a glass door, just shopping, I'm like, I like what I see
Yes.
walking past the mirror.
No, I totally agree. I
It'll be
totally agree.
now, and I'm still gonna be, jamming to that song. And I'm excited. Like, she's gonna hold it down on Sunday for Super Bowl, like the only lady with all of those guys.
I know. I can't believe that. That's going to be very exciting. If we did this in the morning, we could use her new song, Good Morning Gorgeous, which I also love.
Yes,
Great
totally.
wake up song. Love
We gotta
hearing.
switch it up every week. Last season I played one song the entire season, but this season I think I might have to switch it up because I do like that song too.
Yes, no, that one's a great one. That's definitely a great morning wake up song to remind yourself. So,
Yes.
again, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here this evening. I can't believe it's already almost been a couple of years because we technically haven't met in person, right? We've only met virtually. So, it's crazy to think how time flies.
It totally flies. Well, I'm excited to have you here. I was really proud of you when I heard the news about you returning to Houston, especially in the exact role that you wanted. Before we get to that, why don't we start off with you taking the audience through your journey, how you became interested in sports and why you decided to concentrate on it at LSU?
Yes, so I had a pretty unconventional path, I must say. I was actually a biology chem pre-med major and pre-physical therapy. So I thought I wanted to go to PT school to become a physical therapist and work for a professional team. Did that for actually about 3.5 years of college, while also having an internship, and had a work study program through the Cox Academic Center for Student Athletes. Someone else told me to check out the recruiting internship with LSU Football. So I kind of dabbled my feet in that area, not knowing anything about it. And then probably about my end of my junior year, LSU got it's actually a Bachelor of Science. I'm going to say that. It's a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology. They got the program, and I told my parents and broke the news, and they thought I was crazy, that I was giving up the last 15 hours to study, to get into PT school to try sports. Didn't know what it was. It was a new degree path at LSU back then. So I was already in it. I thoroughly enjoyed what I was doing and figured I'd just kind of figure out where I fit in. So work study, I had it for 1 semester. For a lot of students, there are a ton of opportunities right nowadays for you all to get experience, and even for entry level professionals. Even just 10 years ago, there were not for me. So I literally created my internship. They weren't going to pay me. I said, hey, I like what I'm doing here. I like working with y'all. Can I stay and learn? They've never had a student just be like, can I volunteer my time and give you a schedule and tell you when I'm coming to work and you don't have to pay me? So that was the first time they ever had that. So honestly, when I started my career, it was about creating those opportunities for myself where I didn't see them or I didn't see myself. And so that's really what I started doing. And I started dabbling in different areas, like tried tried recruiting, tried academics, tried event operations, tried volunteering with large scale events. And that's where I kind of found like, okay, this is cool. This is really cool. It was 2012 men's Final Four. I'm pretty sure it was like Ohio State, Michigan State, all these great big name schools that came down to New Orleans. And while I was in college, New Orleans is a big hub for these large scale events. So I think we had at least 2 or 3 NBA All-Star games while I was an undergrad, and 1 men's Final Four, 1 women's Final Four, and a Super Bowl at the latter end of my college career. So I got to volunteer at a lot of different things, and then I realized this is what I wanted to do. Volunteered at one of the private events, right? So that I could get closer to the people that I felt, back then I was like, who's important? Who do I need to get to? I don't have anyone in the industry. My dad had already passed away, and that was really the person that was my role model, and that was in the corporate world and in that realm to be able to make those connections for me. So I knew I had to do them organically. Saw someone that looked important that was running around directing people. And when I saw him take a breather, I took my chance. It was like, hey, you look really important, but I didn't say those words. That's what I thought in my head. It's like, hey, I've seen you running around everywhere. What is it that you do? Do you have a business card? Can I email you later to chat when this is done? And I think a lot of people are scared to do that nowadays. They think everyone's so important. We're important people, yes, but we are just as important as the next person that's coming behind us, right? So him making that time for me was great. So that's how I kind of fell into, I call it fell into athletics. Was volunteering at Men's Final Four, secured an internship with the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation. They host the Arnell Carriers New Orleans Bowl. They had Women's Final Four on the docket that year, and they also had the Super Bowl. So they did a bowl game, a Super Bowl, then Women's Final Four, all within less than 6 months, the year of my internship. And that is where I flourished as a leader, and really understood, okay, I thrive in event operations, and this is where my passion is. And that's where it started.
Oh, awesome. So you found what excites you.
Yes, it took a little while, but yes, I did find what excites me, and that's where I kind of just catapulted from there. I ran with the task that I was given, was able to show what my leadership qualities were, my management qualities, my organizational skills, my communication skills, and managed a team of interns. There were 30 interns for the Super Bowl, and I happened to be the first intern that started. So all the information was filtered through me, and my boss being high level, he needed to handle the high level tasks. So I was in charge of like divvying out responsibilities, and it kind of got to the point where our boss would come in and be like, "Hey, I need you to do this, so and so," and they'd be like, "Well, Price didn't say to do that. Is that what you're doing, Price?" And I'd be like, "That's Jeff. Do whatever he said do." So from there, I secured a job with the Sun Belt Conference. I was actually an intern and working as a server. So I balanced both. That was probably the hardest year of my life. But you got to do what you got to do, right, to get to where you want to go. That's what Denzel says in The Great Debaters, by the way. So I did what I had to do, interviewed with Sun Belt Conference, became championships coordinator, traveled for 6 months out of the year, planning 24 championships a year with just myself and one other person across the southern states. So did that for a couple years, and then got a call to be the manager of volunteers for the 2016 men's Final Four in Houston. I had never done this role outside of when I was an intern in that same position. My boss was like, "You can do this." You did it just however many years prior, 4 years prior. So came to Houston, did that, recruited 5,000 volunteers in a city that I had never been to before, and was on the phone day and night, different organizations, sororities, fraternities, alumni groups, universities, getting any and everyone on board. I still run into volunteers to this day that are like, "Hey, I know you." And I'm like, "Weren't you the manager for 2016? I'm like, "Yes, that was me." So just things like that, seeing people, years later, running into them. And every job that I've had just kind of rolled into something else. An event staffing company called me to be their first ever national recruiting director out of the Bay Area. Did that, never did that role before, but I knew how to recruit people, so help them build out their database. And then the Astros called me back and they were like, "Hey, we know you just moved to Oakland and you just left Houston, but we really have this job we want you to fill and we think you'd be great." So talk to all the folks here, talk to HR. When the SVP called me, that's when I knew it was real. So I was like, the senior vice president is calling me. Like, there's no reason he should be calling a manager, for a job. They must really want me. So I looked at it and came back to Houston. So funny stories. This is technically my 4th time living in Houston. Being a New Orleans native, I use that very loosely because my family moved to New Orleans pre-Katrina in 2004. I was born in Chicago, but I've lived in New Orleans longer than I've lived in Chicago. So I consider New Orleans home. So I left for Katrina, moved to Houston. Then we went back to New Orleans. Then I came in 2015 to work on men's Final Four. Then I came to work for the Houston Astros in 2017, came back, and now this is my 4th time living here in 2022 and my last, because I don't have any plans on moving anytime soon.
So interesting. I did not know you had roots in the Midwest. I
Yeah.
always consider you a Louisiana girl.
Nope. So it's funny. Half my family's in Louisiana, and the other half is in Chicago.
Interesting. Well, thank you for all of that background. I think that there are a lot of things to unpack with that. One, you started off by sharing how you created opportunities. The first internship that you had didn't exist prior to you doing it. What was your approach to, one, identifying what you would do as an intern, and then pitching it to leadership?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it depends on what your relationships are with the people that you're working for, right? If you have a great working relationship, I'm sure they would be open to saving money, right, on their line item budget. Everyone is. And getting, back then, free work was okay. It's not legal anymore, but when I was still in school, it was legal. So them realizing she is an asset, We don't have to babysit her. She can handle tasks on her own, even while being an undergrad. And I still had a part-time job at Victoria's Secret, because what girl didn't work at Victoria's Secret in college? So they knew that I could balance both, right? And so I presented them like, hey, this is how much money I make right now. They're not giving me this opportunity back, but I still want to learn. And this is how I can be an asset to your organization. I created completely, like, they had everything still in file cabinets, even when I was still in school. Made everything digital files. Told them, this is what I can do for this part of your Cox Academic Center. I can also work at nighttime upstairs, checking in your student athletes when they come in for study sessions. And then that way you don't have to pay a student worker to go do that, because I want to volunteer to do it. And then I can also work in your Shaq's life skills space, right? Shaq went to LSU. They have a Shaq's life skills, which is all about how do we ingrain our student athletes in the community, how to prepare them for success after college. I'm great at proofreading and resume building and looking up volunteer opportunities. Like, I was doing things that I didn't know that I was going to use later on in life, and I just created my own avenue for it, and just kind of like bounced around. But you have to keep those great working relationships. Like, a lot of the same folks that are there, one RIP, but mostly everyone is still around, and I could still call on, to you. So if you can show yourself being an asset for someone, I'm sure they would be more than happy to work with you.
Definitely. You touched on something that reminds me of my motto, which I know you've heard me say it millions of times, but I really believe that you have to bloom where you are planted. So to get to the next level, you have to do great at level one. So I always encourage people to do their best. It's biblical, do the work as if you are doing it for the Lord. But as an intern who was not getting paid, you did great work. You were humble. You didn't say to yourself, oh, I'm not going to work hard until I am director. You understood that you had to do well at the steps that came before that level.
Oh, yes, most definitely. And I'm not going to say it wasn't hard, because, in other internships, like where I created an internship for myself with LSU Football, that was not a thing either. Every kid, every student wants to intern for LSU Football. But I went over to Sharon Lewis, who's still there. She's a great person. And I said, hey, I know you pay all of these young ladies to be your recruiting assistants, but I need credit for school. Like, I'm not out here trying to like schmooze. Like, I want to learn the back end of what goes into game day. Not that I don't care about the athletes, but I wanted to get to learn what it was to get us to game day and what got the game off the ground. And so when I presented it to her in that respect, she was like, well, I mean, can't really tell you no, you are a student here. So I was working with young ladies who were getting paid, and I was not getting paid, and so there's that dynamic as well, where they think they're at a different level than you are, but in reality, I'm also older. And I was really there for a different type of experience than what they were. I was looking at the game management side of things, because that internship wasn't also a real thing either. So I had to get in where I fit in. And that was the way that I learned the back end of game day.
Really important, because it's easy to get distracted looking at what other people are doing or what they are getting paid, what title they have. But I like that you were really focused on your goals. Like, this is what Alexandria is trying to accomplish. So I'm not going to compare or covet what these other young ladies are receiving.
Yeah, and I think that's because I realized, like, a lot of the time, like I mentioned my dad a lot because he's my role model, and he was always a hard worker. He worked for UPS. When he passed away, he worked for UPS for over 35 years, and he worked his way up the corporate ladder to become the vice president of the Gulf South region. So that meant Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia. If you worked in those states, everyone reported up to him. So that's the type of demeanor and charisma that I bring, I feel, to the office. And so just knowing that I have to do what I have to do to, like I said, my parents instilled that in me, that quote from the great debaters, like printed it out on all of my sisters and I's walls and said, you have to do what you have to do to get to where you want to go. And when he was no longer there, and I realized I didn't have anyone in the corporate world because my mom had always been a stay-at-home mom, that there was no one that was going to vouch for me, unless they knew my work ethic. And that could carry me far. And still to this day, you know, I'm a director, but like I used to dream about days like this where I had an office with a window, right? Like I used to walk past this office with the guy who used to office in here and be like, wow, that's really nice office. And now I'm working in this office, you know, so keeping your head down and doing the work, like it seems pretty crappy, right? When you're in the moment, you know, even with these large scale events, Super Bowl coming up, like I can only imagine. A lot of people don't know the people, the host committee for Super Bowl, they have not been working out of an office. They have been working from home. So imagine the stress of having to plan the largest sporting event in the United States, working from home and having to stay focused because you're going to have hundreds and thousands of eyes on the screen and at your events that are going on around that space. You know, it is very hard to stay focused. Even to this day, I have to remind myself, like, I'm not at that level yet, right? Like you were like, hey, I've been in this, you know, field for 20 years. I wouldn't have thought that you had been in this field for 20 years already. Like to know, I'm like, okay, like I could be in this field for 20 years. Like that's something I can do. Like I literally have now almost been working for 10 years. I used to dream about being like, when is someone going to ask me about questions about my experience? And now I'm here, you know? And so like thinking, I've really put my head down for 10 years to work to get to where I want to be. And I don't know where it's going to be 5 years from now, but I'm just going to keep working. You know, a lot of people here are like, what do you even do? What do you even do? I'm like, just because I'm not on the phone making tickets phone calls doesn't mean I'm not on a call with HBO Max because they want to do a taping here, or sitting in construction meetings and, you know, things that happen on the background. I've never been a in the forefront type person, which is why I feel like my personality and my fashion, you know, that's for me is what keeps me going in the job. You know, like I'm going and walking around, like, oh girl, those are cute shoes. I'm like, I'm comfy. You know, like yeah, it's business on top, fun on the bottom. But you do have to stay focused, and it is hard. Even still now, I'm like, I just want to go on vacation. I just want to work from home. I just want to, but I'll get there, right? You know, and that's the thing. I'll get there. I'll get to be a Shavana one day. I'm just not there yet, you know?
But with that, we have to just appreciate where we are and understand that we have so much to offer. I remember when you and I were speaking last spring, you were like, I'm going to wait to be on SHEMAKERS. There's some more things that I want to accomplish. And I was like, Alexandria, there are people who can learn from you now. So one of the things I really want to show on SHEMAKERS is just that diversity in what it takes to enter and then grow in any industry. Of course, we work in sports, but as you know, on this podcast, I have ladies who are in healthcare, you know, medical doctors, attorneys, etc. But I think that is something that's really important to realize. I always remind myself that I may not have the platform that Oprah has, but we can all learn from each other. And there's something from our conversation this evening that is going to be life-changing for someone.
Oh, most definitely. And I'm sorry if you see me looking down, guys. There's an event going on downstairs with like 500 people, and someone just texted me. So I'm like, is everything okay? So I'm just making sure everything is good.
A true boss. She has to manage and juggle it all.
I'm hoping I text, but I got 2 phone calls back to back. So I'm sorry. We're gonna keep going. They threw me off.
I want to go back to something you said, and that is you identified areas and created roles because you didn't see people like yourself in them. Was that intimidating?
So something about myself that I pride myself on, and this is probably because my dad, I don't really get anxious around people or intimidated. And that's probably also my like super strong type A personality of me. I don't get anxious, and no, I don't necessarily get intimidated. For example, second day on the job, um, the owner, Jim Crane, sorry, the message came in, I was saying what they were saying. The owner, Jim Crane, was like in another room right behind me, and the executive assistant was like, she was still here, and I was like, is Jim over there? She said, yeah. Normally, other people would not just go and just talk to Jim. But me, I need him to remember me again. He knew my name when I was here before. He doesn't know everybody's name, but he knew my name when I was here before. So I'm going to need him to remember me again. And, it's just being organic with your conversation, and if you're going in with I just really just want to talk to you and say hello, how you're doing, whatever your business is, just make it organic. And I feel like that's maybe why I'm not intimidated, but I wish I could speak to you more on that. That is a superpower of mine. I really don't get anxious, really, or intimidated. I might get hot and sweaty, but like, I don't get anxious per se, like to where I'm like, oh my gosh, is this going to work well? Because I'm all about preparation. Like, that's what my job is all about. So I feel like if I'm prepared, I can sit around the table. I know who's around the table. And that's the other thing I would say. You mentioned that, like, having a seat at the table and bringing more women around the table. That's what I've been trying to do within my career, bring other women to the table, be a connector to other women, because we all move around in this industry and it gets lonely sometimes, so knowing you have that person either in that same city or you brought someone else to the table to be able to have your back is great. But I find when I'm well informed, I'm not as intimidated, or I planned, to sit in that meeting, or kind of reviewed my notes or checked up on what we last talked about or did some research on who I'm meeting, then I feel a little bit more prepared. So I'm less intimidated as well.
It seems like the preparation, but also the candor.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about being a student and seeing people work in an industry that you weren't familiar with and just saying, hey, I want to learn.
Yep, that's literally what I did. I said I wanted to learn. I said, you look important. You mind if you give me your card? I know you're busy right now. You don't want to talk, but just give me the card. I'll email you. I promise. And that's what I see a lot of students, like even when I was in school, and that's what sets, the ones that make it versus the ones that don't. When I was at LSU, every person that came to talk to our classes were all males. Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, when I saw that, I was like, so there's space for me there. Yes. Like, they all do something different, completely different, same industry, different responsibilities. So there's space for us there. What does that look like? And how can I get there? All I saw were professors that looked like me. And I was like, I don't really want to get a PhD, even though I'm getting my MBA right now, but I don't really want to get a PhD. So how else can I get to those spaces that they are in? And I just kind of just did it. And it's not always about, I've always said this, it's not always about who you know, but what they think of you, right? You can get an internship and be a crappy intern, and that person be very well connected and they not bring their name up in a room ever. You could be an awesome intern that puts their head down, does the work, does the schlepping of the boxes, and does things when you're not asked to do, and your name is brought up in spaces that you wouldn't even imagine. And I think that is how I've gotten to where I am today, is because I have not complained. I have done my job. I've had off days. Everyone has off days, but I've done the best to my ability so that my name can be brought up in these spaces. Because I will say, thank God, but every job that I've had has been a phone call. It has not been me browsing the internet and going to apply for that job. It's been, hey, so-and-so called me, and I think you'd be great for this job. You need to call her and apply. And so that's how I've gotten to where I've gotten, even with the position that I'm in right now. My boss and former boss, because she was my boss a couple of years ago, she called me and was like, you're the only person that I've been thinking about for this position. Are you game for it? And I was like, am I going to work for you again? And to that point, when I left here in May of 2019, that was after we won the World Series in October of 2017. When I resigned from this job, I left for my first director level position. And I was going to be working in event operations and community affairs. Two wonderful things I'm very passionate about, and the city of New Orleans, even more passionate about that. But when I walked out of these doors, I said to myself, I'll be back here. I don't know when, but I know I'm coming for that director level position, and it's going to be mine. And I'm here like 3 years later, out of nowhere, out of the blue, because the young lady that had this position before is born and raised in Houston. I thought she was never going to leave. But that's also another thing, like women and family, that changes the dynamic of the level of work that you want to be involved in. You know, she loved sports, she loved the Astros, she's born and raised in Houston, but she wanted a job that would allow her to be at home with her kids. So she's still a director of events. She just works now for the largest hospital system in the city of Houston, right? And she can work from home. And so that's what allowed this vacancy to open up. So I will say, sometimes, like, the position that you're in, you know, you can blossom and then you've blossomed and you feel like you've learned everything that you've done and you can't do anything more other than just be an asset to them, right? Your organization, and you aren't necessarily getting fed the same. So you do have to step out and find something else. And sometimes that something else is what will bring you to that next best thing as well that you didn't think you'd be in. Me sitting in the office back working for the Houston Astros. And they now have, I left and now they have like 3 or 4 rings. I was like, y'all just gonna keep winning? I left. Like, they didn't win the World Series, but they won the championship twice. So some of my coworkers, if they've been here since '05, they have 4 rings. So they have, so I was like, okay, Marcus, specifically my friend Marcus in tickets, I said, okay, we're gonna get that 5th ring this year, and it's gonna be the good one, the one that matters. And he's right. What I'm talking
about. Oh gosh. What you said, you know, just takes me back to growth. I mean, when you think about gardening, sometimes you have to get a new pot. Otherwise, the plant will die.
No, that's a great example because I love plants. I've talked to plants. They haven't made it here yet. It's only my 3rd week in the office. But no, you are correct. Like you bloom where you're planted, but you know those certain blooms eventually die. Like I have an aloe plant. A lot of people don't know that aloe plants bloom. It actually looks like my hair right now. Like the plant looks like my hair, and then there's these tall stems that stick up. But then they start to just fall off and die. If you stay within that organization, your energy is going to fall off and die. You might end up getting yourself ixnayed. You know, you don't want that to happen. You want to keep bringing that energy and vibrancy to the office. So if you feel yourself slipping, it might be best and time for you to put your feelers out there. When I say feelers, talk to your personal board of directors. What's a personal board of directors? That's your friends, your homegirls that are in this industry, your friends that have friends in this industry, you know, people that you've worked for before, organic conversations. Hey, let's catch up. We haven't talked in a while. This is what's going on with me. What's going on? Oh yeah, girl, I know. And that is how your name starts getting in places that you never thought it would fall into. Like, you know, I was interviewing with another great organization that I would not call out in the NBA, and I really wanted that job and I loved that city. It just didn't work out. They were looking for someone with a different skill set, which makes sense, which is why I'm here. I want to learn that skill set, right? So, and also working for a woman is, I mean, who wouldn't want to work for another woman? We understand each other, you know, our ups and our downs with family, kids, you know, those kind of things. And I get to manage a great team here and build a team. Right now, we went from a department of like 10 or 11 to 4. Including my boss. So I get to hire on some more folks. We have 6 concerts this year, 5 artists, and that's my main job, is managing concerts of that scale and the executive events and managing our operations team here at the ballpark. So we are a part of the front office, but we deal with all of the internal and external events. But my job is non-game day essential. So yes, there are 81 home games a year, but I am not required to be at all 81 home games, only when certain executive level events or certain partnership events happen. So that was also a great thing for me. I didn't know much. I knew the game of baseball, but I wasn't like super passionate about baseball. But now I actually can enjoy it without feeling obligated to be at every game. Because prior to this, when I was the event manager, I was in charge of game days. So it was a little bit different feel to things now.
So how do you describe your work?
Oh, that's a loaded question. How do I describe my work? My work now, I'm still learning, right? So I'm in week 3. I know what my job description says, right? But it's also, you know, everyone's gone through a lot the past couple of years on the professional level with restructuring and teams and COVID and losing folks on your staff. And so for me, I'm relearning a lot of things, getting a refresher on a lot of things, but seeing how I fit in, right? I can't just come in and just take, right? Take back things that maybe should be on my plate that someone else is managing. I have to find that dynamic to be, where do I fit in? How can I help? And start to be able to take things off people's plate that way. It's not like I ever want to come in and just take responsibilities from someone. That's not who I am, especially if they enjoy, doing certain things. So right now I'm learning a lot about what I do, but mainly my responsibilities are managing the operations team, all of the large scale concerts and events. So one we haven't announced yet, but I will say our biggest one is Bad Bunny. We have 2 nights of Bad Bunny coming up. And I don't, Billy Joel, Elton John, Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, and then another favorite of mine that I can't say yet because tickets haven't gone on sale. So as soon as that one is announced, I'll be very excited to be working on that. And so I work a lot on external events, specifically with Live Nation, with the Astros Foundation, for any of their events, any player-centric events, and working on the Houston Open, which Jim Crane and the Houston Astros own as well, which is a PGA tour. So working on that as well. So that's in a nutshell what I do. And then, like I said, here or there, project management with construction projects and different one-off things here and there.
Yeah. So for people who are not familiar with all of the tentacles on just event operations, can you share some of the things that you have to make decisions on?
Yes. So in this role, I haven't had to make too many decisions, but if you allow me to speak to my previous position with the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation, where we worked on college football championship, we had a canceled women's Final Four 3 weeks before the event. My heart. And then I just wrapped up planning men's Final Four. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it through, but trust me, I did all the legwork for them. So, and ran a bowl game. So a big portion of my job is siloing information, right? But building bridges for connections on where information needs to be shared, because I oversaw so many different areas. So there was the event operations side, and so it was a little bit different on large scale events. Event operations for that, for me, was the transportation and parking. Where are fans parking? Where do all the staff park on game day? What does that space look like? The look and decor of the city when people land all the way to the airport. The team arrivals, what does that look like? The community programming, is there a reading program within the schools? What schools are participating? Are we working with the parishes all the way down to the teachers? How are we disseminating information? How is the program going to run? What prizes are being ordered? All those different things like that. A gym renovation. I was also working on a gym renovation. So it's a lot of project management, in reality. My job is a lot of project management. And even in my role previously when I was here, I did do the concerts. At one period, the director was out on maternity leave, and my boss was dealing with some family things going on. So I was the next highest level person in the office as an event manager. So I was doing a lot of that project management. So I got a lot of the experience on hand. So I would say for anyone who's interested in being in event operations, you have to be organized. You have to be able to communicate very well and efficiently, and be a great problem solver and quick on your feet, because a lot of things happen. We put out fires, not literal fires, but put out fires, left and right for anything that's going on, and have a good eye. A lot of what I deal with, because I use CAD, which is technically an engineering program, right? To build out diagrams and to work with sponsors and work with our engineering team to get stages put out on the floor, different types of, weight restrictions. So I feel like some of what I do seems engineering-esque, but I love it. I've grown to be more organized and a better communicator, but I'm still learning.
What are some tools you use to keep yourself organized?
My phones. Everything lives in my phone. If it's not in my phone and a calendar, it probably doesn't exist. I remember a couple of years ago, I had a friend that was like, can we schedule a time to talk? And I was like, schedule a time to talk? Who do you think you are, the president? But now I'm like, now that life has gotten so busy, it makes sense. Like sometimes you do have to schedule time to like catch up with your friends. But I use my phone for our organization calendars. I live by when I'm out at events, I'm always like talking notes into my Apple Watch all the time. Like remind myself when I make it to my car to email so and so. Like those are always things like whoever thought of the Apple Watch, God bless you, because for event operations people, we don't always have our fingers handy to text or to remind ourselves. So utilizing that, and then I managed a lot of interns at my previous job, so being able to give them true responsibilities and ownership over things helped me make my job easier, especially around the bowl game, because there's so many moving parts and I'm only one person and can only do so much, but I dealt with everything regarding the team and the venue. So utilizing them was awesome. They could handle getting the coaches to and from point A to point B, and I could focus on, excuse me, dealing with the head coach and the team, getting them to and from, and planning, community events and different things like that. So cell phones, yes, that keeps me organized 100%. I think everything is in my cell phone on a calendar.
Listening to you, I'm just thinking about all of the different stakeholders you have to appease in your work. How do you manage conflict?
Yes, yes. So I think it depends on what the conflict is, on how I approach it. I have not had to deal with, really any conflict here so far. Again, I'm not even a month in, but I have had conflict in previous positions, and I don't like conflict, so I probably don't manage it the best way. So and it depends on the organization too, right? If I have the space and place to speak to someone about those things. But I know that I have the space and place to talk to whomever, I need to. My boss, HR, a VP in another department, I have folks to lean on. And so I do 100% appreciate the HR department here, because they always have kept an open door. Even when I was not here, like I could text them and ask them like, hey, I just need a pick me up, or is this right? So being able to have someone that you are close with, or you feel you can talk about those personal things to, if you have an HR department, is definitely something I would look into doing, because without those ladies, I don't know how I would get by, because they're great. And then also having an EAP service is wonderful with your insurance if you can, because usually those have counselors available 24/7. And the type of jobs that we do in sports, we've seen, high functioning depression, right? We just saw that recently, with the passing of former Miss USA. Did I say that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a thing, get so wrapped up, and then we don't realize it until that we get home that like, hey, I'm not right. I'm just running on fumes. So if you have a therapist, a counselor, someone that's not in your family or friend circle that you can just be honest, open, candid with no judgment, I think is definitely necessary.
Definitely. I think that often people do not realize that they are even struggling. Like you become so accustomed to continuing to churn that you have no idea that mentally and emotionally you're drained.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not.
And I'd say like if you are kind of to that point also in your position, that might mean that it's time for a change too. Because you will see that. You will see that in your own demeanor and how you're carrying yourself as well.
Right. I have to talk about your superpower. I can't believe we're almost up, coming up on time. But this superpower of yours, I was, so like energized when I read it, because of course a lot of answers are more focused on more of a business, tool function, something more traditional. And I said, Alexandria said, my fashion and charisma.
Yes, because I do feel like everyone is always so serious with their answers, and we forget that like we're people that have personalities that are all different. And I personally feel that my personality has gotten me places, it's gotten me indoors. Like you can look important and not be important and walk right in some place and no one's gonna ask you anything. Like I'm not gonna say that I've done it, but I've done it. Like, back when I was like clubbing in my 20s, right? If you look like you know where you're going and you just walk to the front of that line, that man's gonna open that little rope and let you in. So like I've just kind of learned to just have fun with life and just be easygoing because especially now, there's too much going on, to be so serious. Like I could have taken, the kid earlier this evening when I'm helping them set up their event for 500 people. What do you even do? Like I could have taken that so left, right? He's not younger, he's a lower position, but I could have taken offense to that, right? Being a director, but I don't, because I know he was just poking fun at the fact that no one in our organization ever sees what special events does because our events happen typically after hours or on the weekends, right? So they're always like, well, what do? Y'all just sit at your desk all day. No, we don't. We are building CADs, we're talking to clients, we're doing walkthroughs and different things like that. So I'm sorry, I lost track of what you said your question was. My superpower, my personality, yes. And then my fashion just carries me. I just like to be cute. And I think that stems from my mom dressing me up when I was little all the time. And so I always wanted to be cute. And it was funny, there was a post on Instagram where, it says like post a picture of yourself in July 2021, and you can click it and you can see like the 100,000 other people that posted that. And one was post one of yourself as a child that gives you the same vibes of you as an adult. And it was me in a two-piece outfit. I love two-piece outfits, y'all. Like, they're the best. You kind of dress them up or dress them down. And, I won't say that getting compliments makes me feel good, but, people like to compliment me on my stuff and it makes me feel good. I'm like, I did good. Like, for instance, this is a $2 blazer from the thrift store.
Love it.
You can be cute on a dime. It's definitely very easy. Hit up your local thrift store. They probably have a lot of great finds that you can spruce up.
It's so important to dress well. It says a lot about you before you even open your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I actually attended a lunch with my owner's wife, all because of my style and my reputation for always dressing nice. Literally, there was an extra ticket, and HR called me and said, Shavana, we have an extra ticket to go to this event. We know they didn't see me that day, but they said, we know that you're always dressed nice, so you would be able to go. So I literally had the opportunity to go to this lunch with my owner's wife because of my reputation in dressing well.
Yes, you are always cute. I could only imagine your daily outfits.
Thank you, girl.
We should start a work outfit of the day.
Oh, we totally should.
Yeah. And then start putting it for other people to start posting their photos. I do love getting dressed every day for work. Now it's fun. Like at night, I get to pick, okay, I'm gonna wear that tomorrow. And then I get up in the morning, and it's also, my mom always told me to do this my whole life. And I never did. And now that I was like, fresh start, move to Houston, get all new furniture, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be really responsible, start picking my outfits out at nighttime. And now it's even better. I can really, really enjoy my coffee and meditation in the morning because I don't have to stress over what am I gonna wear.
Exactly, right? My mother was the same way, like clothes out. Actually, with 3 children,
Yep.
and once my father passed, it was like, no, it's done for the entire week.
Yes, my mom had 3 girls, so she had fun playing dress up for sure.
Definitely. Well, I want to go to a couple of the questions that were emailed to me since we're coming up on time, which I can't believe.
I talk a lot. It's always been a problem my whole life.
It's relative. Really, it should be, Shavana, schedule more time. So one question is, what is challenging about the work that you do in special events?
I would say the different clients can be challenging because you just never know what you're going to get, right? You see a name on a piece of paper and they seem all nice and dandy, and then event day comes and they're a dragon, and you have no way to tame them. That would probably be one of my biggest, things that catch me by surprise at any moment. Um, but other than that, repeat the question one more time for me.
What is challenging about the work that you do?
Um, I would say just because of the landscape that I'm in, coming in as a new middle management person already in an established working environment. So there is a VP above me, and then there are people below me. So trying to establish what they report to me on versus what they need to go to her on, and that communication there. That's probably the biggest challenge for me right now.
Okay. The next question is, out of all the events you worked on, what was your favorite so far?
My favorite would probably have to be that's a tough one. It's a toss up between 2013 Super Bowl, and where Destiny's Child performed, and my boss at that time, who actually I failed to mention today, I'm sorry, my boss that I pulled aside that I found when I secured my internship with Super Bowl was my most recent boss in New Orleans, who gave me my first director level job. So that was a full circle moment. But he, repeat the question one more time.
Your favorite event out of all the ones you've worked on so far?
He was able, that's where I was going with this. I'm sorry, I was trying to remember where I was going with this response. He was able to get us into the exclusive DirecTV party that, I don't know if they still do that at Super Bowl, but there's this exclusive VIP only DirecTV where there is no VIP. There's only a red carpet and it's only celebrities that attend. And our boss somehow got us in there as interns. And that was the first time Justin Timberlake had performed in like 6 to 8 years, when he came out with Suit and Tie. And then Jay-Z performed that night. And I just thought I was on cloud nine. It's like, this is the coolest thing ever, until All-Star 2018-19 All-Star game in LA, when I worked on, for the third time, Michael Jordan's All-Star Game birthday party. That was like the biggest star-studded event I'd probably ever been to over Super Bowl, because there were the likes of Stevie Wonder and Kyrie Irving and all of these people that were trying to get in a party that I was already in, and I thought that was interesting. It was a lot of like just heavy hitters that I just never thought I would be in the same space with, but I was there working. So it kind of took me, that was the first time. I'm very not starstruck, but when I saw Stevie Wonder walk down steps out of his Tesla, I was like thrown to the floor. So that was probably the most fun event, was All-Star, but also the most stressful, because dealing with that level of clientele becomes very, very stressful. Everyone wants everything a certain way when you're dealing with Nike, Jordan Brand, and Michael Jordan himself. So it's a toss-up between 2013 Super Bowl and 2019 All-Star Game.
How did you manage the stress of that event?
Stay backstage and be a stage manager. I told you, I don't like being in the forefront. They're like, do you want to work the guests, the door? No, ma'am. I don't want to check anybody in. Y'all have something in event operations. I will manage the stage. Yes, put me there. So dubbed myself stage manager. The event planner for the party had no idea who was even running the stage, because she was so bogged down at the front door. Thank God I was there, because I don't know who would have called the acts up for the whole night. Or let OBJ and his friend just go dance for the hell of it. Because I knew you from LSU, like, yes, fine, go right ahead. Different things like that. So I managed it by keeping my cool, staying behind the scenes. I was managing SZA and her crew and her band and the acts that were going on. So I just kind of stayed in event mode. That's all I could do. When she asked for things and I had to go out into the crowd, get what I needed to get, and then get back behind the stage. So again, I was a little starstruck by the sheer amount of people, like Floyd Mayweather and different things like that, like right in my space. But at the same time, I was kind of like, you got to do this right, because if you don't, someone's going to curse you out. And someone did curse me out that night, but it wasn't because I did anything wrong. It was just because it was LA and it was LA. It was an overpacked party. They were expecting 100 people and 350 people showed up. So in the Hollywood Hills, next to Elon Musk's house, with a 1-lane driveway in and out, with rappers getting in fights in the parking lot. It was quite the event, to say the least. But it was very fun.
I'm sure it was. And look, if not fun, it's always going to be memorable, right?
Oh, always going to be memorable. I mean, that was the first time I think I also worked a contracted event where I paid my rent in like 2 days. Oh, and so I was like, okay, I could get you, like, you're making this level of money in LA. But then once I got to the event, I was like, oh, where's my plane ticket? Send me back. I don't want to stay here.
Well, with that kind of money, you just come in once a month.
Yes.
Once a month to handle the event. I'll take this one last question from someone. What new innovations are you looking at in special events?
Ooh, you got me with that one. New innovations, I'm tech savvy. I can use technology, but I'm not the person necessarily that seeks out technology. And a lot of the things that we use here at the ballpark are handled like within our business operations and IT department. So it would have to be something that comes down from them that says this is what we're implementing to use. Now, there have been organizations or companies that come in and say, hey, we want to use this platform. Will it work within your ballpark? We can configure, Wi-Fi and do boosters and different things like that for events, but we don't necessarily use like a specific platform for our events. And we also have a guest service team, a tickets team. Everyone all has their kind of own service that they utilize. We personally, internally, we allow our clients to bring in whatever technology they choose to bring, as long as it's compatible with our Wi-Fi.
Oh, cool.
Unless they had something more specific they were poking at, I'm not really sure how else I could answer that.
No, I think it was a great answer. In general, with events, between ticketing and ingress, egress, just new innovations, maybe not even a tangible tool.
Yeah, I mean, when I was here in 2017, 2019, I was in charge of postseason events around every home championship series, division series, championship series, and World Series games. So there was a lot of, and during concerts, like me figuring out what the egress and ingress progress was, but it wasn't a technology, it was just my brain. Like, yeah. This is where the signage needs to go. We need to add in and purchase exit stairs, for our field becomes the floor, right? Those become the floor seats, and there's no stairs outside of the stands that go up to get people out fast enough if there was an emergency. So what does that look like? How many new pairs of exit stairs do we need to add based on what the fire marshal's recommendations are and those kind of things? So it's not just me making the decisions. There are other people that give their recommendations also.
Well, thank you, Alexandria. This has been so nice. I'm glad that we had a chance to chat it up. Of course. Well, I can't let you go without my 3 sentences for you to complete.
Okay.
Are you ready for the first one?
Yes, a little nervous, but I'm ready.
We'll start with the easy one. My walkout jam is...
Oh my gosh, I'm terrible with song names. I'm terrible. Okay, it's the song with Kaytranada and Her. Oh gosh, give me 1 second. I gotcha. Kaytranada. This one. This is my song. It's a good one. It's like my morning wake up. Let me fast forward. So the fact that the song is called Intimidated, see, that just shows you about me and my personality. The song is called Intimidated, but it's with Her, and I love Her, and it's with Kaytranada, who's more of a like electric kind of music. He doesn't really have sounds to his tunes, but I love his music. I'm a big festival head and music head, and that is just a song that just makes me want to jam and vibe and gets me feeling good. And so when I hear that, I'm like, ooh, turn it up, turn it up. So
There
that's
we
my
go.
jam. Right? That's my jam.
Okay, the next one is I know I have made it when this designer wants to build or design a collection based on moi.
I'd say I know I made it when Brandon Blackwood wants me to create purses for him. I love a Brandon
Yeah,
Blackwood bag. Yes. Yes. And now the prices are going up because everyone likes them. I'm like, see, that's why you had to get on the train early.
exactly.
Yes, I would say. And he's a
Trendsetter.
new and up and coming designer, but I did see one of his bags in And Just Like That, if anyone watches the new Sex in the City. Not Carrie, Charlotte. Charlotte had a bag in one of the scenes, so
Oh
he's
man,
making his rounds.
it's over for them now.
Yeah.
I'm behind. Maybe I'll catch up on it on the plane. Only watch
Well,
the
he has a trunk sale coming up on the 11th. I'm pretty sure it starts. You can probably hop on that train.
right. Okay. And the final one is the documentary about the fashionista in special event operations will be titled
Fashion, fun, and furious.
Ooh.
Because sometimes I can get a little loud and rowdy, but it's all in love, right? But I can get very passionate about things. So I guess furious is maybe not the word, but yeah, I like Fast and the Furious too. So it just worked for me. But something about passion, fashion, and fun. There we go.
There you go.
Passion, fashion, and fun. I like that.
Right. Well, so nice to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to seeing you in person. Wish that you were joining the gang in LA, but I know you all are getting ready for a very busy spring and summer.
Yes, yes. Things will be very, very busy for us through November. So I'm going to take Q1 and Q2 real slow and get ready for the latter half of the year.
Well, congratulations again on returning to Houston and leading the special event operations team. I hope to get down there sometime this year and check you all out. But until then, go ahead.
Please, I would love to have you out for a game. Let me know when you're in town. Hopefully, I'll learn some new spots by then and we can hang.
Yes, definitely. I'll make a trip. Like, it's not even about me being in town. I'm going to make a trip. Actually, Houston will be one of the stops for our golf clinic this summer. So hopefully
Hey,
it will fall around a time where there's something going on at the field or the park.
yes, let me know. I need to take some golf lessons though, because I'm not good. So,
Oh, well, it's a
okay.
clinic. We all take lessons. Even people who play, we all take lessons.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, good to see you. Have a good night.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good night.
Bye. Thank you all so much for watching this evening. I hope you enjoyed tonight's conversation and took some really good notes for your playbooks. Until next Wednesday, remember, you are a she maker, and I am here to help you unleash your power, make big plays, get in the end zone, and win. Have a nice night.